It's okay. All right. So, what topic did you want to do?
I don't know.
But you,
I didn't want to debate guys like for recording.
but wait, you
Like for
said in BC, y'all, I'm finna beat everybody. Well, you said I want
no,
to
I
debate,
didn't. What's
and
gonna
then
be
I
the
said, okay, we can
justification?
debate. Then you said, what topic do you want to do? I said,
We
well,
can
since you want to debate, I'll just debate you on anything you want to debate. Then we debated
fine.
on
We
the
can
list
do
who win first.
meta. We can do abortion.
Okay. So
This
what's
man,
your stance on abortion?
my stance on abortion.
Yeah. What's your stance on abortion?
My stance
Official
on abortion.
justification.
Yeah, my stance on abortion is just gonna be
Yeah, I just don't. I think that's a incoherent position.
my position's pro-life
Oh, your position. Okay, sure. Okay, so why are we? Why are you pro life? That's
because
what I
I
want.
value. You said what?
Yeah. Okay, so you value this thing now.
No. You said something before and I cut you off, but I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I said your reason why you're pro life is because you value this thing. I think most pro
Yeah.
lifers say that they
Wait.
value
No,
this
no,
thing.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
There's a bit more to it, but I believe that
Okay.
I value potential.
So what property of the fetus is needed for it to have value, or like what property of something is needed for it to have value under your like account, I guess.
Specifically in this instance, it would just be like some sort of comparative account of harm, where it's like this
Wait, so
fetus of a
value is
whole.
the so wait, hold on. To be clear for the recording, you're saying value is identical to harm.
That's not what I said.
That's directly what you just said.
I said comparative account of harm.
So when you say a comparative account, that's just looking at different accounts of like a situation, trying to establish some sort of idea of like what harm is, right?
This
And before
no,
that, we were talking about what
no. This is the
property of
account
the
of
fetus
harm I'm
or
going
what
off of.
property of a thing establishes it having value. That's what
What?
we talked about. Then you talked about harm. So it sounded like you were saying that value is identical to harm, which doesn't make sense.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
Okay, so
saying I value. Wait. I'm saying I value potential, which is just going to be a
okay, so
comparative
you
account
value
of harm.
potential. Wait, so why do
Yeah,
you
I've already
value
said that.
potential?
You said what?
So why do you value potential?
Yeah, I value potential because of these said desired results and also the fact that it
The
fulfills
said
the
desired
primary.
result.
Yeah, which is just going to be sentience.
The said desired results.
Yeah, which is sentience.
You
And
value potential for the said desired results. That was really
wait,
informative.
I can
You know,
explain these
I
desired
love that for you.
results.
You know, that was
Nothing I
cute.
said was
That was
wrong
cute.
though.
All right,
Yeah.
so all
Okay.
right, I'm gonna stop trolling.
Yeah. So
So
these
why do you
desired
value
results
potential?
that you seem to be confused on is just going to be like a
What am I
future
confused on?
hedonic state.
I'm asking you questions about your position. What am I confused on?
Careless. You lost to me. I don't care. Anyways.
No,
What's it
don't
called?
talk to the chat. Talk to me.
I'm gonna talk to chat because I want to.
Are you gonna run away from me in the conversation, or
Maybe.
because I'm
Yeah,
just walking you down lines of questioning. We didn't even get to the meat and potatoes.
You said what?
Wow. Okay, so why is it
that
that you
nigga said
value
meat and
potential?
potatoes.
Yeah, I
That's
value the potential because of the desired results, which would just be future hedonic states and subjective experiences.
okay. So you value potential because with potential and stuff like that, we can gain like future hedonic states, like like happiness, just like positive well being.
You said
Okay.
what? What was the last part you
So
said?
yeah, I think that you can value potential, right, to a degree, and it not be a contradiction with we still like with us preserving the life of like the mother over this thing, right? But what I want to ask you is, why is it the case that given that we value potential, it means that this fetus or it's morally considered? I don't think having some type of like uh some means to an end establishes that you're morally considered. Like I can say like a rock is like a means to an end. In like this scenario, would that rock be something morally considered? Can I harm this rock? I wouldn't
Uh,
say so.
like, are you giving an example where the rock is
No, I
gonna
was just
gain
explaining.
sentience?
I was just explaining. So you could just explain to me.
Yeah, I can explain why this would give some sort of value to it. For example, when we have like a
No, I'm not
comatose
asking for
patient.
some sort of value, right? There can be some sort of value in this thing, right? But I'm asking if, given that we have this value, doesn't mean that we're obligated to morally consider this thing. That's what you're supposed to justify.
The obligation for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're gonna willingly, like with the precondition of pre-knowledge of having this dependent being that's gonna be
Wait,
dependent
you know,
upon
there's
your
the
source.
potential. Wait, hold on. Before you get that, you know, there's a potential that this thing could obtain and it'd be like really bad for the world, right? Like Hitler was a born fetus, you know.
Does that mean we should abort all fetuses because they possibly could be Hitler?
Bro, what?
Mom,
I think he left. Yo, what's good, Wi-Fi?
all right, hello.
You hear what I said?
What were you talking about? I had left for a little bit.
Oh no, I forgot.
Okay, so I was just asking you what establishes this thing being morally considered, rather than just having
Yeah,
some value in the sense that this is a means of an end to attaining some possible preferable like instance. But in this case, we can have this thing obtained and it not, you know, be a preferable instance. So why is the case this thing is morally considered?
I don't know. I forgot. Not gonna lie, I forgot my argument.
You don't have an argument for why it's morally considered?
I did, but I forgot it.
Okay, well, I think most people who've had like abortions, like, you know, the Pacific End, that that they gained was like utility, and that's certain things that we value. So like in this instance, they can just like not consider this thing, you know, going with the process, you know, be happy and have like a happier life and maybe like maximize utility in different ways. I don't think this is the only way for us to like maximize utility, though there is potential in it, but then I just feel like there's different alternative options, and we can also see like the crazy absurdities would follow if in all case, if in all cases that the person has to, you know, preserve the life of this thing. Like, would you want like your little sister, say like she's 10 years old, gets raped, to have to, you know, raise this baby? Would we let her? What if it was gonna kill her? You know,
Yeah, I
these are
give
all
the
different
exception of
questions.
rape.
Hold on, yeah, these are all different scenarios where people would all have this intuition. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, I wouldn't want to force my family member, my mother, to stuff like that, to be raped and have to raise this thing, or have to
yeah,
deal with this, or
I
even
give it.
risk
Wait,
their
wait,
life
wait.
and go through all of this
Yeah,
pain.
yeah, yeah. I give the exception of rape. And can you repeat all the other
Okay,
stuff you said? I forgot.
you're not strictly a pro life view. You
No,
believe that
I'm
there's
pro
certain
life.
wait,
Wait,
but you
wait.
just
It's
granted that.
pro
Okay, hold
life.
on, listen. So what do you mean by pro life then? You're
Yeah,
pro
what I
life in
mean by
certain scenarios.
pro life just no pro life just basically means, at least from my understanding, is that all abortions are immoral. But I do give, like, I can see when an
Okay, so
abortion
what's
will
the
be
immoral? Why
justified.
is it immoral? Why is it immoral? I don't grant
Yeah,
that. I don't grant depriving some type of potential means that it's immoral.
yeah, because of this. Well, what the fuck? Because of
I
these
think
desire
I think when we
results,
say something, I think when some we say something's immortal, it's because the end
immortal.
of this particular action, stuff like that, minimizes our chance of like obtaining utility. Like we could do
You
it like
don't.
statistically, or just like just its evidence that
Wait.
maximal.
What's
Sorry,
going on?
maximal utility.
Yeah, I still feel like taking away this fetus is going to be less utilitarian, whatever. Because, like, basically, if you're just going to be depriving this being of some sort of future experiences, and this is where it ties into,
Yeah,
I also
that's
value.
certainly we agree. We agree
Wait,
that
wait,
thing is not going to have this potential experiences, but are those potential experiences good for the world? We don't particularly know. So if we're
wait.
just rooting
Yeah,
it back
yeah.
to it can have
I
potential. It
I
can have
asked you. Does that?
potential a
should
potential
yeah.
obtaining that can be either
Earlier
good or
I
bad for the
wait
world. That doesn't seem to motivate me
wait
as to why we should preserve this particular
yeah yeah
thing
yeah
if we're
yeah.
potentially
Earlier
doing
I
something that
asked you,
equally as
does
bad
that
as
wait
good.
wait 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 chill 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 chill. Earlier I
But
asked
I
you,
think in
does
most
that mean
cases where abortions happen,
wait
it's like
why are
it's shown
you
that
rejecting Catherine? You stop speaking.
people are
Okay,
happier,
earlier I asked you when you said
especially
that,
with these
does that mean we
exceptions.
should abort all fetuses, and you never answered.
What?
If you're saying, oh well, we don't know if this thing's gonna do good or bad for the world, does that mean we should abort all fetuses because just
No,
because it
I
could be
don't
the
think
case?
I don't think that's an implication for what I'm
That
saying. I
that
think
is an implication.
the implication
Even
from what
if
I'm
it isn't
saying is
an
that if you can
implication, that doesn't
establish
respond
some
to
type
the
of
argument.
sufficient reasoning as to why we should preserve this thing rather than letting the mother, act with like her like something that seems to be in line with like her bodily autonomy, blah 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 blah, whatever pro-choicers say, then I'm not going to feel morally obligated to do this thing. You could even establish moral consideration, but the mother is morally considered. She can be harmed to a degree. I don't think depriving potential before you have the property of sentience necessarily means it's harm, right? That's going to be some relativistic account of harm. Unless you're going to argue it to be some type of fact and stuff like that, I don't see how you're going to get that argument. I think that's just trivial as fuck. And I don't
You
see
said
why
what?
I don't think that's even in line with our common intuition.
Wait, you said what? I wasn't listening.
Yeah,
My
because
bad.
I don't think we're saying that we're harming like dead people. Like I don't think you can harm a dead person. Once they're dead, it's like I guess you can like hurt the family's feelings, but like I don't think that's harm. Where can you show me an instance where there's harm beyond like some type of physical or psychological state?
What does that have to do with fetuses?
Okay, because if that's not evidence, I don't think you can draw the points and make an inference saying like, okay, well, we already have evidence harms taking place in this way. I can say that I have an evidence account of harm, right? And I could just say yours is not one to one with reality, or just reduced down to some word account that's like, oh, I feel bad about this particular thing, or you set up some like real trivial dumbass system that no one cares for. Or are you gonna make it to like match a common intuition? Because if not, then I don't see why we should be like fucking pro life. I don't even argue pro choice, bro. Like
Wait, so what's your definition for harm? Because what I just defined it as
we're
is
talking
anything that
about,
deprives
we're
someone or
talking we're
something beneficial or good.
I don't know if I'm gonna fully encapsulate it, but in certain cases it can be reduced down to like hurting somebody physically or psychologically.
Oh, okay, so you don't think you can
In our
hurt
cases,
a
I'll just use
cow?
our current accounts of it,
Do you
like where
think
we would
that's
say it.
the do you think that's the only qualification for harm?
I think I literally said that I don't know if I'm gonna fully encapsulate like what harm is, but I'm saying I can establish
Are you
some type of
fine?
like account and provide like some type of consistency with like our intuitions as a basis for why this thing is like an account of harm, or why this thing based on like our way of gauging morals is like harmful to a person, and why we shouldn't do this thing.
Are you
You
fine
know,
with my definition of
because we
harm?
both like value utility. I could just like index it to a lot of different things.
Are you fine with my definition of harm?
Uh, I'm fine with your definition of harm existing. Like you can talk about it, but like I don't
Yeah, like
see why I should
what's
consider it.
what
Like
what's the disagreement with it?
the disagreement, yours doesn't seem to fully encapsulate what the idea of harms is. It doesn't seem as evidenced.
So you don't think harm is putting something in a worse off state? I feel like that's pretty like encapsulating
I think
enough.
for
Since like
something to
for
be
example, for example, if you give an example of someone being emotionally harmed, like where you're mentally abused, they're gonna be in a worse off state in the sense that they have this mental trauma and stuff like that. Or when they're physically abused, they're gonna be like harmed in the sense, let's say a kid gets their leg cut off by their parent. I don't know why. But
so
this person's gonna be physically
those
disabled.
people are like they have sentience and they can feel pain to a degree. I don't think inherently depriving potential again just means that what's the name that you're harming them. Like if I stop,
Wait,
like okay,
but
so let's say if I stopped you, like if I stopped, yeah, like example the case of abortion, yeah, like I don't really see that.
wait. So, why do you
Like
value humans,
why is
human
depriving
per like why? What,
equivalent
for
of
example,
harm
why would you value the life
in
of
all
Hyde?
cases? Huh?
Why would you value the life of Hyde? This is just to like clarify.
Why would I value the life of Hyde?
Yeah,
Personally, I think there's some type of moral fact that means that he's morally considered.
which is
Which is, I just said there's some type of more. I don't have to. like describe the moral fact. I can just tell
You
you
don't
that
have
that's
to.
what I
How are you
believe.
going to have an applied ethics debate but not have some sort of account of why we morally
I do
value?
have I do have an account. I'm saying it's a fact that this type of hide would be morally considered. I'm saying that's
So
because it's a type of fact. That's what
how
I
is that a
believe.
type of fact?
It's what I believe. It'd just be a moral
What you
fact.
believe? Okay, I believe it's not a fact. Do you want to give the argument for why it is?
I can discuss why I'm more justified in the particular belief.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay, well, seems in line with our like intuitions and stuff like that. That humans, once there's like this certain state, are like morally considered, stuff like that. That's why we say like murdering them is wrong. Like we shouldn't slap this person. Stuff like that. We should allow him to flourish and stuff like that. And the type of moral facts I believe in, our facts are like made in a way that allow us to like differentiate between how we should act, because how we should act is also reducible down to some type of moral fact. It's all a
How are
part. It's
you
just
gonna
associated in theory with the framework, and I'm
wait?
using the fact that
You
our
can't be
intuitions commonly
number
point to this idea that we shouldn't, and that's associated in theory with what I'm talking about. To
wait.
basically, I mean, should value him and shouldn't do certain things and stuff like that. I'm using all of that to update my degree of like justification or plausibility in my belief.
Wait, so number one, you use moral facts to justify a moral fact, but anyways, you're using
Oh my God,
intuition to.
the tracking of destruction.
I don't remember your argument. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even really listening. But also the fact that you're using intuition for a moral claim or a rational claim makes no sense. How can you make like a type of
Do you
claim
not
for
think that we
something?
can rationalize? You don't think that we can rationalize about like like convergence and stuff like that about intuitions?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so you don't think that we can come to conclusions about certain things given like observations of things about like morals?
If you're arguing, okay, this is intuitively the case, therefore it must be a rational conclusion. That makes no sense
No,
since
that's not the argument. I was talking about what leads me to be more justified in my particular belief.
you used
So I gave a
intuition
theory,
to use
right? I
that.
gave a theory, right? And I said, well, there's certain things that are expected on this particular theory or associated in theory that are evidenced and stuff like that, given like the current information we have, which is like common intuitions about people that people have in society, which I'm saying is associated in theory with what I'm talking about, which raises my degree of justification in that belief.
I can't lie, I'm not gonna remember that. I can see, bro.
Well, okay, that's
Damn.
fine. So you conceded 2 times. I beat you on Invincible, You're
No,
Being Worse, and I beat you on Abortion with the stance that I
no,
don't do. It was a great debate for
no.
Paladins, and yeah.
Hey, we got